2, 3, 1. Here we go. Howdy, everybody. This is Stephanie.
Hello,
This
everybody.
is Trillium Tarot for those who always see her in the chat. So now you see her in person this time.
Good to see you. Thank you so much for inviting me to be on the channel. I am excited to play show and tell and to have a conversation.
We like cards, so y'all don't mind us out there.
Yeah.
We like cards a lot.
Yeah.
I think they're neat, though. I mean, it's just like people who collect anything else. It's just there's so many varieties. There's so much art. There's so much thought put into them. I like them.
Yeah, me too.
I really do.
And I find that I find a certain artist, and I'll pretty much buy anything they produce.
Mm-hmm.
So, part of my attraction to them is the art. Some of it is decks that are kind of more unusual. So it's a fun excursion. It's always dangerous to hit the Etsy and the Amazon.
Where my damn questions go? Now, if anybody has questions out there, where'd my chat go? In the chat, you can put them in there. We do have some I took from the community post. And one of them, since you bring that up, though, is do you find that you read the cards traditionally, or do you go by the illustrations? Do you go strictly because I like the variety and we love the art, and so do you ever just read them based upon images, or do you go traditional meaning?
I have not been. It's kind of funny that because we're looking at this from two different perspectives. I am more of a newcomer to tarot, and you are the grizzled veteran of many battles. But I personally have not been brave enough yet to just read based on the images. So I do rely more heavily on the Pamela Coleman Smith illustrations that we used when I took your class and when I took Lori's class. I do, however, one of the reasons I have a problem buying decks is I do like to test myself. So I like to buy decks that are not based on the traditional imagery, that may have nothing to do with, the way the Three of Hearts is traditionally portrayed, or the Nine of Wands, or whatever the case might be. So
like this that you sent me.
Yes. Yep, I have that one right here somewhere. I have too many piles, Johnny. Yes, here we go. Tarot of Trees. Got this one on Etsy. And I originally, with this deck in particular, I had originally purchased, I don't know why, by the way, my own image on the screen it's just a black box. So I don't know if I'm centering things correctly on the screen, so just let me know. But I initially bought the 10th anniversary edition of this Tarot of Trees deck, except it's huge. It's like postcard size. I mean, compared to my hand, it's really difficult to use. So I know that we had talked about mentioning cards that are better for smaller hands. This small version is much better. It's more playing card size, so that might be a more user-friendly option. And that's the one that you have there.
Now, mind you, before we go any further, these are our opinions.
Yes.
Only. This is not set in stone. This is not meant to change your perception of tarot and what it is you do and your relationship to it. I always say, don't let anybody tell you what to do. Mm-hmm. But I would never, ever tell you to read tarot cards by the image. They're not oracle cards. And some of the reasons why is I have one deck where every single card is based in the tower. So everything is not a disaster, but it's all based in the tower, every single card. I have some decks here, like the Shuffle Tarot, where they're all flipped around. This is the Devil card, but the Hierophant is on it. This is the Four of Wands, but it's in the setting of the Four of Cups. And so these are the kind of cards you can read through the image, because It flipped it around. And so there may be a nuance to it. But the reason I would never suggest a person read the image, especially when you have decks like these with little to nothing on it, is now, mind you, if you read images, you wouldn't buy those decks in the first place. But I want people to have the language of tarot. That way, you don't pull the Ten of Swords and say, okay, everything is good, everything is happy, everything's wonderful, go for it. That's not what that means, because not every Ten of Swords looks bad. And so, for instance, well, we'll get there. Not every Ten of Swords looks bad, and so I want you to go and get the language of tarot first, and then venture off on your own. But don't. And again, my opinion, like that one there.
Yeah. I like this deck. It's called Tarot Disassembled, but it is just the it's kind of sticking together on me right now, but it's just pieces and parts of the imagery within the Rider-Waite Smith deck. And I have been training myself to call it the Rider-Waite Smith deck instead of the Rider-Waite deck.
Yes.
Because the artist needs to be acknowledged as well. Don't want her to be lost in the dustbin of history. So yeah, I agree. Unless you have the fundamental knowledge, don't try the other stuff. I took Johnny's class starting in January, and I still primarily work with the Rider-Waite cards. Once in a while, I'll take one of these other decks out to play with, but I'm still sticking, a creature of habit or lack of confidence or whatever you want to call it. I'm still sticking with the Rider-Waite cards.
Because they give you that sort of jog of the memory, because those are the images you learned first, so they're easier. Well, speaking of which, we had the first question was, what is the best way to learn tarot? From your viewpoint, what is the best way, do you think, approaching learning tarot is?
For probably the last 20 years or so, I've kind of dipped my toe into different areas of study, whether it's runes or healing or crystals or tarot or other forms of divination, whatever the case might be. And so I have some tarot books and some tarot decks that I've been carrying around for about 20 years, and it never really clicked, or I never really actually dived into it enough that it would actually sink in. The way that I learn is by doing more so than just by reading something. So I suggest that the best way to learn tarot is to find a reader that you trust, that knows what they're doing. I took Johnny's class, and then I took Lori's class. And actually, I should get updated start dates from both of you for your next tarot classes, so I can update the website if you have them. But I suggest that you take a class with somebody that you trust. It will be kind of nerve-wracking the first time you do a practice session, because I know poor Johnny in the first class, when we did a practice session, he's like, okay, everybody get your cards. And he gave us a practice question, and it was dead silent because nobody wanted to be the first one to jump in and provide an interpretation. But that's the best way that it worked for me, is just to pick somebody and start practicing, and then take another class. You get a different perspective, same information, but each teacher has their own way of teaching. So you get information from a little bit different perspective. It just reinforces what you've already learned and helps you increase your knowledge of basic tarot. And then maybe some part of it you'll find, like at the moment, I am diving into Golden Dawn. Because so many things started, there's a lot of interesting intersections in the Golden Dawn, whether it's the Rider-Waite Smith tarot deck, or Freemasonry, or Wicca tradition, and so on. There's so many things that intersect at that point that I decided I wanted to study that piece of history and that piece of tradition. So that's what I'm doing at the moment. But you'll find something that appeals to you that you want to dive into and investigate further.
I totally agree. Just first of all, just start. You give yourself permission to do it slowly as well too. You don't have to be a master reader in 6 weeks, as I always say. So it's not something that you have to rush towards the finish line. Also, the Rider Waite Smith is not the first tarot deck, and so it was just the most popular. I have 260 tarot decks, and they're all based upon the Rider Waite Smith. So that's why I teach it. That's why I teach the Rider Waite Smith, is because that's most popular. But
How does Nutrisystem work?
if you look at this Ten of Swords, that's your Rider Waite Smith image. The Solabuska came first. Now, this is the Ten of Swords here in the Solabuska. Well, it didn't come first tarot, it came before this. And so here you have the Ten of Swords, which looks a lot like the Ten of Wands in the Rider Waite Smith. Then you have the Three of Swords in the Rider Waite Smith, and then you have the Three of Swords in the Solabuska. So even though you go and you venture off, they're more than likely going to be based upon the same meaning as well. And so don't feel as though you have to have the Rider Waite Smith in order to learn tarot. There's so many out there. Go to the one you're gravitated to and take it slow. Also, commercial break. There is pinned to the top of the chat Stephanie's Etsy store. In it is the actual diagram, not diagram. I don't want to say catalog either. That's
the outline.
The outline. It's her thing that she created. Her guideline is what I was looking for, but that's not the right word either. But her guideline for learning the tarot, it is every single card, all 78 cards, the meaning, some symbolism. It is basically the thing that I teach from in the class. And so that you go to her Etsy store, it's right there. And basically anything I'm going to tell you in the class comes from that document as well. Document, that's what I meant to say. And so there you go. There's that too. It's up at the top of the thing. So next question, show and tell time. Is there any decks you recommend for people with smaller hands or people with arthritis?
Yes. One of them would be, first of all, I know I switched over to YouTube. I now understand what you guys all say when you say StreamYard looks totally different from YouTube. So I switched over to YouTube, and now I'm seeing some of the comments. So it is really good. People are saying it's exciting to put a face to the name. So I'm glad. For people with smaller hands, this Tarot of Trees is a really good one. It's on Etsy. It's about playing card size, but since there's 78 cards instead of 52 cards, it's a thicker deck than the traditional playing card deck, but that's a really good one to start with. You can also find, actually, when I was finding some smaller decks for purposes of this topic, I came up with an interesting realization. So I have here the Centennial Rider Waite cards. This is the traditional, or the more normal, I guess, mainstream tarot size. It's about 3 inches by about 4.5, 4 3/4 inches. So these are the official decks that you can buy from stores or Etsy or whatever the case might be. You can also buy miniature versions, which are much smaller, and they are called the mini version. And many publishers put out mini versions of the cards as well. However, you can also periodically find pocket sizes. And you can see that this size is somewhere in between the mass production deck and the mini deck. It is really, it's a lot easier to use than the traditional size tarot decks. However, after I have about 6 of these pocket edition decks. That was the first time that I had ever heard about counterfeit tarot decks. So sometimes, firms in China will just grab some kind of intellectual property or some intellectual art, and they'll just mass produce it and sell it on the market. I'm not saying to purchase pocket-sized decks, and I'm not saying not to purchase pocket-sized decks. I bought one that I didn't know that it was counterfeit until I received it, and I felt bad, so I went back and bought the full-size deck on the gentleman's Etsy store. These decks are going to be out there, whether you personally choose to buy them or boycott them or whatever the case might be. Just be careful as an ethical consumer to pay attention and buy just as many real decks that the artist will get paid for as the counterfeit decks, if you want to call it that. But the pocket size is really good for people with smaller hands. Um, I did also just recently upload a video about this Divine and Play tarot deck, and Johnny commented on that one that this deck goes with him everywhere he goes because these are pocket. I mean, they're playing cards, same size as a regular playing card deck, but they have the major arcana and the minor arcana images on the cards as well. So that's a really good one for people with smaller hands.
That's the one I recommend, especially if you are a person who likes the Rider-Waite still, and it's the Rider-Waite Smith, and so it has everything exactly the same. It just has playing card on top of it, but this is your standard size. And Stephanie has a video on her channel too about the different sizes of cards, and so this is a good one for smaller hands. Also, biddytarot.com. BIDDY. She has a deck as well, and it's pretty much the same size as that one. And so this is also one that is good for smaller hands. And it does keep with the Rider-Waite Smith. It does have different kinds of images on it, though. And so but you still get the point. You know the magician when you see it, or you'll know the kingdom. So the name is still there, but the image is just a little different. They do tend to clump together as well, so they're not the smoothest in the world, but they are really good for small hands. And I want to also show you, I got this one for my tableau spread. This one's itty bitty. This one is the Rider-Waite tarot deck, but it's miniature edition. Mm-hmm. And when I say miniature, I mean miniature for real miniature. Like that was the playing card size, and it's even smaller than that. And so for somebody with big giant, alligator killing hands like me, they are hard to shuffle because they fall everywhere. But if you need something really small, then there's that one too. And it's just the basic Rider-Waite, but it's very tiny.
And Johnny, I know that you also like the Rider-Waite or the Witch's Tarot cards.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know that they come? Here's a good illustration of a miniature size. It's about the size of a lip balm. So I don't know if you were aware that one comes in the mini size as well. I can easily see you doing tableaus with that.
I need to get that one just to put in my purse to take everywhere.
Jacanda Thomas, or Jacanda, I don't know how that's pronounced. You asked where you can get those Divine and Play playing cards. I know that was a Kickstarter deck, and when I bought it, I got it on the gentleman's Etsy store. His name is Matt, and it's escaping me right now. I did not see that Divine and Play tarot deck on Etsy anymore. Some of the Kickstarter folks tend to fund a deck, and if they have extras, then they post them on Etsy, and they're not available after that. So I don't know if he's going to bring it back. I think it's Matt Green. But in the comments of that video, that Divine and Play Tarot, I also did provide a link to his current Kickstarter campaign. So he's coming out with another deck, the same concept, just a little bit different use of the cards. And once you I did go ahead and I backed the campaign, but once you back the campaign and purchase the initial set of playing cards, you can add on some of his other decks. I think he's done 3 other decks that are based on playing cards. So that's the best source that I can give you right now for purchasing that Divine and Play Tarot.
There's one thing, when you go shop for decks, Google it first to see if you can get it from the source, or because, like, for instance, there's a deck I have called the Good Tarot, and it is being sold on Etsy from some shop called the Vintage Tarot for like $45. The good tarot at most is $20, I think, because it's mass production. It's not a vintage tarot and all this that they're trying to claim it be. And also, if you go on Amazon to shop for decks, look for at the top, it'll say card game for women and men and children. And that's from China. That's a reproduction from China because they describe everything like that. Like, oh, this is a playing card game is how it started technically, but nobody who creates a tarot deck is going to call it a playing card game. And so that is a reproduction, just to throw that out there as well, especially if you go to buy a tarot deck and it's only $10.
Mm-hmm. Joyce Matthews, what are the biggest cards you have? It's this 10th anniversary edition of the Tarot of Trees. So just to give you a comparison, well, here's my mouse pad. So two of these would be about the size of my mouse pad. They are huge. I don't know what I'm going to do with these since they're not very easy to work with, although I have kind of an idea to get artsy craftsy and maybe use these to make a screen like the one Johnny has behind him.
That would be neat.
Yeah, I just need to figure out the frame and so on, but it'd be a fun
these are the largest ones I have. This is your regular card size, and these are the ones I used to teach, and so they're gigantic, and they're called giant right away. So these are the ones I use for teaching.
So my wife got me this weird Christmas, and
now next, is it normal to have a deck for heavy topics and one for light topics?
I would think so. Granted, I don't have a lot of experience, and I'm not reading for other people. I'm just doing things for myself. But I look at it like everybody has this friend that you can talk to about anything, whether it's you're talking about relationships or sex, or you murdered somebody and you need to find out where to hide the body. There's that one person that's kind of all purpose. You talk about everything no matter what. There are times that you try and figure out how to handle your own problem and come up with your own answer, and by trial and error. But there is always somebody, whether it's a parent or a grandparent or some elder or some person in a position of respect, that if you do have something that really matters to you, that makes a huge difference in your life, that's the person that you go to, because they've been around a couple more blocks and they might have feedback that your other friends that are closer to your own age might not know about. So I would say that it's normal to have a deck that is better for heavier topics, but if you had to nail me down and see which one amongst the decks that I have that I would use for heavier topics, I have no idea.
I do a lot of garbage readings, politics, and all that type of stuff. So all my decks have to be subject to reading on heavy things. But if you are a person, especially if you're attracted to the art of something, this one is called the Glamorous Tarot, and every card is set with makeup. And you got your brushes, and then there's lipsticks and things of that nature. And so it's kind of fun, a little more frivolous. And then you have cards like these. This is called the Dream Vision Tarot. And they don't really speak heavy. You don't really get Eight of Pentacles from this. You get more art and, the Starry Night painting from these. So it's they don't really shout, I'm going to read on something horrible. And so you do have, though, things like the traditional Rider-Waite, and you can use it for anything. And so I think, yes, it is normal to have a deck that reads on heavier things, especially personal life, and then some that read on lighter stuff, just because of the energy of the images that you see. And tend to evoke a different kind of emotion and so forth and so forth. Okay. How do you choose a tarot deck?
I see them. No, there are, like I said earlier, I do tend to find an artist that I like, that you know, for some reason, I just feel like I connect or click with some certain artists, or their illustrations work in my head, or the way my brain works. So I follow the artist. Sometimes it is just the colors, or sometimes I'm like, oh, I want to challenge myself, like with that tarot disassembled deck. It kind of depends on what I'm looking for at that particular moment. um, I do definitely get attracted to anything that is related to nature or animals, or like nature-based religions such as Wicca or paganism or Druidism, or you know, crystals and gemstones, very earth oriented. So that seems to be the niche that I'm most attracted to if I'm not following a specific artist.
I am. I am. Oh, thank you, MSK, Miss K. I am not that deep. If I like the image, I'm gonna buy it. Just, even when it came to, this is called the OK Tarot. Even when it came to this type of deck, I like it. It's different. It's pink. You don't see pink tarot cards. It's pink. It's different. It's simple and almost too simple, but that's what I like about it. And so I'm not that deep. If I like the way it looks, I'm gonna buy it. That's pretty much me. So how do I choose it? Just based upon, I'm not a person who has to feel drawn to it. I'm just not that deep.
So I didn't need to come up with a deep answer. I could have just gone with I see it and I buy it.
Me too, Joyce. What advice do you have for someone who wants to print their own deck? I don't have any advice. Lena Rodriguez and Sienna Rose Metaphysical just got theirs published, the One World Tarot. Tony from Shining Hawk Healing got her Oracle deck printed. Me, I have not gotten that far. So I would say go to one of those three and see if they have any solid information to give you. I mean, other than just do it, but solid information should come from those people.
Hello, Lori. I see you just popped in. Just to piggyback on that too, I think that Tony produced her own as like an indie deck, and Lena and Sienna went through a publishing company. So it might depend on what your goal is, if you want to do it in smaller batches or if you want it to be more of like a mass-produced type product.
Because Tony went through a company that will print it out, as long as it's not copyright images. They'll print it out, and they charge you a fee for like a bulk. I think you get 10 cards or 10 decks at a time, something like that. And then, of course, the other way through the publisher, so forth, so forth. But I would say maybe shoot them an email if you can, or if you're in one of their chats or something, ask them about it. Okay. We did that one. What is the easiest way to remember the minor arcana?
Ooh. I will answer that in a second. However, I just had something else came back to me. Talking about that Divine and Play Tarot. In the comments for that video, I also posted the link. I believe I posted the link to the gentleman's Etsy shop. And I believe that he does print that deck on demand. So if you order it through his Etsy deck or through his Etsy shop, he's hooked up with one of those companies that'll print it on demand. So once we get done with the live stream, I'll double check and make sure that I do have his Etsy shop posted in the comments of that video. But I'm glad we went down this trail of printing cards because it reminded me.
Thank you, me, myself, and I.
Yes, thank you very much.
So now, do you have Any advice on how to remember that? Okay, go ahead. Any advice on how to remember the minor arcana?
Yeah. And I need to go back and update my notes for my quick reference guide because I don't think I have this noted in that document at all. When I look at the minor arcana cards, I think about what the imagery represents, and I made myself some notes here. Swords have to do with thinking and the power of the mind. So if you think about, just some little earwigs or hooks for me to remember, are just some comments like he's pretty sharp, or not the sharpest knife in the drawer, or sharp as a tack. Those things that have to do with mental sharpness or intelligence or capacity to think and reason and logic and so on. So that's kind of my hook for remembering the suit of swords. Wands are action cards. So within, Wicca or Golden Dawn imagery or whatever, wands are used as a tool to direct energy and manifest whatever it is that they want to manifest. So wands are action cards. You think about what is similar, people use shovels. It has the long wooden handle, or an ice pick, or a toothpick is an itty bitty wand, but it has a very specific task, and you get something accomplished just by using a toothpick. So that's kind of the way I remember the wands. Cups are all about feeling, so that one is the easiest to remember because that has to do with emotional and how you're feeling. My heart is full. My heart is broken. I'm feeling overwhelmed. And pentacles, you kind of have to make an extra leap when you think about the suit of pentacles because it is frequently represented as coins. Coins are money or income or finances, but money is a means to an end. I think it's less about the money itself, but it's more about what that money can bring into your life. It can help provide security and housing and food and pleasure and chocolate, wine if that's your thing. So pentacles are more all about being and about your physical life and either just basic sustenance or whatever types of pleasure you can derive as a result of having money and finance available to you. So hopefully that helped.
Perfect answer. Also, to Joyce's point, you have to memorize the cards before you read them. No, you do not. And a good way to memorize the minor arcana, in my opinion, remember these are opinions. I'm not trying to change your life here. Don't memorize them. Just work with them. When I teach tarot, we teach one suit a week. The reason we teach one suit a week is because it's a lot easier to work with that suit for that week. Spend 7 days working on your pentacles, your swords, or whatever. That way they're in your head. Now, the more you work with them, the easier they are to remember. If you're having trouble remembering them, it's because you work with them every 8 days. So if you want something, you do need to work towards that something. So if you're still not grasping it, how much effort are you putting into it? And I like what you said about the pentacles, because even seasoned readers do this. They pick up pentacle cards and think money. No, don't do that. Bad. Think resource, and money is one of them. This is an opportunity for things, for money, for a job, for whatever. This is the balance that you need to keep in your life. This is your collaborations, your business collaborations, your financial collaborations, your just collaborations, period, working towards some things. This is you saving or hoarding that money. This is the loss of resource. So it's not always cash money every time you pick up a pentacle. So it's one of them things to where you do not need to try to memorize all that. 78 cards is a lot, especially when they got their own nuances and all this other kind of garbage. Just work with it little by little. Give yourself time to work with it. Don't try to smash it all in there at the same time. Don't try to memorize. Pick up a card, you don't know what it means, go to your notes. Stop guessing, stop umming. Don't wait for it to drop from the sky and your guides are going to help you. Look it up. It's okay. Look it up. Figure out how to do it when you're building a bookshelf. Do you try to memorize all of the instructions first, or do you go back and forth? Same thing.
Yeah, and my notes, my quick reference guide is just a compilation of notes that I took in the class that I took with you and with Lori. And I had to, during the process of doing my practice readings, I had a hard time deciphering all of my my scribbled notes and finding exactly what I need. So that whole document started out as just a way for me to find what I need rather quickly. Um, but to circle back to what you said about actually doing it, and something that I would suggest, I mean, I have it right here. I just have a spiral bound notebook. And as I do just a morning daily read, I journal it. Um, I did look back, and my journaling ended a couple days before my surgery. Tomorrow it'll be a month since I had my foot surgery, so I'm blaming that on me losing track of my daily reading practice. But it's just like any other muscle, unless you practice at it and get used to exercising that intuition. It's not going to be something you're just going to be able to randomly pull out of your butt. You do have to work at it. Um, the
Try.
hardest thing for me personally is in my job, what I do for a living to pay the bills. It's very logic based. It's very numbers based. Black and white, true and false. And so my personal struggle is to trust my intuition and actually listen to what my gut is telling me, more so than feeling like I have to color in the lines and say, oh my God, I have to go look that card up to find this specific meaning. So that's my personal struggle right now. So some of you in the chat may have a similar struggle or may have some tips about how to overcome that, but that's just kind of where I am right now.
And I am starting a new class next year after the holidays. And as I said before, pinned at the top of the chat is Trillium Tarot's Etsy shop. And that is the document, basically, that I teach from now. Because it's all of the stuff that was in my class. I just didn't have it organized. And so she comes along and she makes it look all nice and neat. And I just go down the list from that. And so it's a lot easier to teach when it's in one place instead of the way I have. Like this is my tarot class notes. This is it.
I don't think I've even seen these.
This is it. Like I have pages upon pages upon pages of stuff that, mind you, it's in here, but I write it down so I don't forget to mention it. And so that document will help you. So another one is sleeping with your cards. It's saging your cards. Salt, moonlight, sunlight, crystals. Do you believe all of that to be necessary for tarot readings?
I don't think it would hurt. Some people are very ritual oriented. Like, I told you that I bounced around between a lot of studies in the past. And one of the things that I spent considerable time researching was different Wicca traditions. And there are very high ceremonial, you do things this way and you never deviate, and you have to say this at this certain time and do this certain thing. And then there are other people who believe that intention is everything. And, they're more of the eclectic type of Wiccan, where you pick what resonates with you rather than being forced to go through a ceremony that you may not even believe in, but you just do it because it's what you're told you have to do. I personally have selenite all over the house here, whether it's this little bitty guy or that great big one that I showed you, Johnny. That one is over by the bed over there. So I think that having things, selenite is huge for cleansing. It's very saline. So if you never want to have selenite in water, by the way, because it'll eventually dissolve, because it is primarily salt based. A tarot deck is like any other tool. It's like silverware. You want to keep it clean for when you use it, but in a pinch, you could reuse. It sounds disgusting, but you could reuse dirty silverware or dirty pot and pan or whatever the case may be. So I don't think I've ever slept with a deck, just because I feel that just by working with it, I'm corresponding. I'm aligning my energy with that of the cards and the imagery, more so than I could possibly do while sleeping. I have had decks sitting next to on the nightstand next to me as I sleep, but I haven't really noticed a significant difference in my experience.
I slept with my first one because they said to put it under your pillow, and it worked for me. Um, there's Palo Santo as well. You can go and get you a bag of it from anywhere, Amazon, wherever. There is selenite. You can use that for cleansing the deck too. And when you light your Palo Santo, just wave the smoke around. Basically, my selenite, I just sit it on top of the deck, draw in the energy. It cleanses itself, so you don't ever have to clean selenite. Now the question is any of that necessary? No. You are enough to cleanse whatever it is. You had your connection to spirit or God, whatever you call it, before men knew how to dig rocks out of the ground. And so if you were somewhere, on some deserted island, it's just you and two monkeys and a camel, and you need to do a tarot card reading for one of them, what are you going to do if you don't have a selenite and Palo Santo? Are you going to say, I'm sorry, two monkeys and a camel, I can't do your reading because I'm all out of selenite? So that's not how it works. Now, on the other hand, rituals help you focus your intention. And so if I am doing something like this, then I'm distracted from everything else. I'm focusing my intention on this being clean, this working with me. And so that is why your rituals are necessary, is because they help you to focus what it is you are doing to help bring about a desired outcome. So if you don't feel it necessary, don't do it. You do not have to be the Stepford wife. You do not have to be a clone of the next person. This is your cards. You do what you want to do.
Yeah. And Lori, I know that Lori uses a bell after every reading for the sound energy to cleanse the remnants of that energy from her deck, for that particular reading. So I did dig out my little bell.
I love the bell.
Yeah. As I said, I have not done readings for about a month since before my surgery, but I'm going to give it a shot.
So what is a 3 to 8 card spread that is easy for beginners to learn? Let me say this. You can create your own spread. You do not have to use anybody's spread anywhere. The spreads are created to give you the information you want to know. So if I want to know the price of a car, or should I buy a car or something of that nature, okay, this card means price, this card means color, this card means shape, this card means taxes, or whatever. You create your own spread. Now, an easy 3 or 4 card spread, the first card, I say do 3 cards. The first card is the situation. That is you or the thing you're talking about. Say about the car, this is the car or the situation around the car. This is your challenge. This is the thing you need to overcome. This is your potential outcome. 3 card spread. Situation, challenge, outcome. 4 card spread that I made up myself. Situation, positive, negative, outcome. This is what's going good with the positive. This is what's going bad with the negative. There's your outcome. Don't do 8 cards if you're just starting, because you get lost. 3, 4, that's it.
Yeah. I just yesterday, actually, I knew this was sitting in the mailbox all day, but I couldn't go out and get it myself because I still can't put weight on my foot. So it wasn't until late last night that I received the One World Tarot deck. And so I uploaded a flip through of the deck today. This book is phenomenal, by the way. I definitely recommend this deck and this book to people. But in the back here, there's a 3 card spread. And there's 6 different interpretations of what each position of the cards means. So, there's also 4 card spreads and 7 card spreads and such back here. But I totally agree with what Johnny said about you can make up your own. Um, I actually have a book. I think you talked about this during class, Johnny, of a thousand tarot spreads or something. And sure, that's great, but unless it's something that you're actually going to use, I probably could have saved my money and not bought that deck.
I bought it too, and I would.
There's a lot.
It wasn't really 1,001 spreads. It was 1,001 questions, and then they made a spread for it. It's like, oh, how does Jim feel about Mary? And then they pulled 4 cards. Well, this can be just like I said. You make your own spread.
Uh-huh.
All you really need. What information do you want to know? Make the spread. But start basic though. Don't get lost in all that. If you have 10, 15, 12, 13 cards, you're going to get stuck. You're going to get lost because by the time you get to the last card, you're going to think, what the hell did I just do?
Mm-hmm.
What was the first card meaning? Wait a minute. What does the 7th card mean? So just start small, then grow. If you're just beginning, start small.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy to get frustrated with that.
And
Okay.
just as often as you go back and reference, what does this card mean? If you get into bigger spreads, you are going to go back and reference what does this position within this spread mean too. Whether positive or negative, because you do need to look at both perspectives. I mean, 78 cards in and of themselves is a huge amount of information to learn and study. And if you get reversals in there, that's what, 140, 150. I can't do the mental math right now, but it's a lot. But
So outside of the One World Tarot, outside of the Rider-Waite Smith, do you have a suggestion on a good starter deck?
as a matter of fact, I do. And I think it was the first deck that I bought without even realizing it. It is.
Oh, that was my first one.
Yeah. I have the original version of the Gilded Tarot. Kiro Marchetti is one of my favorite tarot artists. So this deck is probably about 20 years old. You can't really tell because, like I said, I haven't been, studying tarot very long. By the way,
That's about how long ago I bought it.
Well, and I didn't realize until we had the class that the only way to get this original Gilded Tarot is if you buy this Easy Tarot kit. So you get the deck, and then you also get the book by Josephine Allershaw. I really recommend this as a starter deck, and mostly because of the book. The book is phenomenal. Incidentally, I had my original deck of the Gilded Tarot, and then I took the class, and I was like, oh, I need the book. Except you can only buy the book if you get the set. So I bought the set, and I have a second deck of the Gilded Tarot. It's within plastic within this box, and I have a second deck of, I think it's Shadowscapes Tarot. So if I ever get to the point where I am doing live streams on my own channel, I have a couple of decks to use for giveaways.
That's the deck I recommend too.
It's really good.
And the book is really good. That's the book I learned from. And so those are the cards I put under my pillow and the whole bit. So that's the one I recommend too. Absolutely. Okay, we're going to upgrade show and tell here. Try as you might. What is your 3 favorite tarot decks? You can show all 5 if you want
to. Well, I have my 3 favorite, and then I have one that does seem to talk to me, but that I don't like very much. So you can show and tell that too if you want. One of my favorite decks is Crow Tarot. By MJ Cullinane. And actually, this artist I sent an email to see if she would be willing to do I'd like to start doing like an artist series or producer series where I have tarot artists on, whether they want to talk about their inspiration for different decks or just be kind of a getting to know you kind of thing, to see the get to know the person behind the images and how their brains work. Crow Tarot is one of my favorites. Um, Also, Everyday Witch Tarot, which
I like
is
that.
more of, it's not really a cartoon based, but it's definitely illustrations. I mean, it's not, um, it's graphic imagery, like graphic artists would use. Or I absolutely love, this might have been like the second or third deck that I bought. This is the Witch's Tarot. You can see the back of it has the triple moon sign. This is really easy to understand. It is based on the Rider Waite set. Um, Deck number 4 would be the Elemental Goddess Tarot. And this one I have kind of sat on for a while because it, the way it's set up, instead of the Three of Cups, like this card says. By the way, are you able to hear me? I'm getting a spinning. Okay.
Yes, it just froze for a second.
Okay. All right. So we're back. Instead of saying it being the traditional imagery for the Three of Cups, this is the Three of Water. So then you get into having to know the additional some additional information about the suits and the elements that they correspond to. So Three of Water would be Three of Cups, or air with feathers in this deck would be swords. So I've kind of sat on this deck until I felt like I had a better handle on some of the very basic pieces of tarot imagery and the meanings. And the final deck, anybody who has seen some of my outtakes on my YouTube channel know that I have 3 cats. And I really like this Mystical Cats tarot deck simply because I'll give you this example. The 6 of Sky, so 6 of Swords. Look at the look on that cat's face. He's like, everybody else behind me is fighting, and I am just freaking done. I'm not going to deal with this anymore. The 3 of Swords. Can't you just see 3 cats sitting around being kind of assholes and knocking stuff over? I just really, devil cat. I just like cat decks, I guess. Now, the one that I have sitting here that I don't care for terribly much is another Crow deck. So, I love my Crow Tarot, the Cullinane deck, but this particular deck that I'm about to show you is Murder of Crows. And this one came to me in a subscription box. It's not something that I purchased on my own. I think the reason I don't care for this deck so much, I think at some point in a past life, I must have died during a plague, because I think the plague masks in this deck is what throws me for a loop. I don't really like them. I'm fine with the crow. Well, there's a lot of other really weird, dark imagery in here as well. But this deck is really talkative. This answers a lot of pretty much anything that I ask for. It's really, or ask it. It's really responsive. It's really wise, I guess, to, I don't know if that really fits, but I'm just putting it away until I am more comfortable with it. How about you? Favorite and least favorite?
My least favorite, I threw it away, but it was called the Wild Unknown, and it drove me. No, it was called the Mary L. I'm sorry.
Yes, that one.
That one. It gave me the creeps. I didn't like it. It was. Now, mine is a very popular deck on the tarot too. They love the Mary L. It is like second Jesus. But to me, it was first trashed. So no, it went away very fast. I couldn't stand it. I can't stand it now. I don't care if it's 3 cents and they're going to give it to me and give me money to take it. No.
Yeah,
my favorites though.
Which card you told us all to go out and Google?
The Hierophant. and the Mary L will give you nightmares.
Yes, it will. It really will.
So my three favorite, though, I have five, but I narrowed it down. My first is called. Oh, we'll just start at the top here. This is not necessarily number one, but this one is by Marchetti, Cyril Marchetti. It's called the Marchetti Tarot, and it's. I like the gilding. It's pink, and I like the vibrancy. I like the colors. It's pretty, and I like shiny things. I like the pretty. Now I will say this too, just as a small criticism. His decks tend to favor each other. So it's like they kind of, when you put them side by side, you can tell the same person made them. And so, but I still love them all because they're up my alley. That's what I like the Arcanum Tarot and the other one,
The Lima.
There you go, the Lima Tarot. They're very computerized, very very high def computer imagery. I like that type of stuff. And then there is my current favorite is the Elemental Wisdom Tarot. I believe this one comes from overseas, so if you do order it, it could take a while to get here. But that black gilding, they have different versions too, but I love this.
Mm-hmm.
This one's also highly computerized. There's Seven of Swords. I like it because it's diverse as well. There's different colors of people in here. It's very, very high def, but it's still Rider Waite friendly. And so you kind of get where it's going and what it's saying. And Joyce, here it comes now. This is my favorite card of any card that I have, period. This one is called the Afro Goddess Tarot. Now, this is the first deck that I saw, not the first deck that there was, the first deck that I saw with black people in it. So I'm like, I don't care what it costs, I'm buying it. It's $80, by the way. But these are all hand-drawn images, and all those people back there got a sword wound as she licks the blood off the sword. I think it's just the neatest thing. But I love this. Is one of my favorites. Now, before you go out and get it, though, that's your standard tarot card size, and these are kind of wide. Very glossy, though, so they don't stick. So I do like that. They don't slide, though, either, so they're not that kind of glossy, but I love this deck. So those are my three favorites.
I will mention, too, because since you put out or showed the Elemental Wisdom Tarot, that is the deck that you suggested. I looked at it on Etsy, and it was like $120 on Etsy. So that's the one you suggested I do a Google search for and find it for cheaper elsewhere. And it does come from overseas, but you can get it for about $60 if you buy it directly from the artist's website instead of through Etsy. So
there is a Rose Garden Tarot or something like that. I don't know why it's called Rose Garden, but the back of it has roses on it, but the cards are all black and gold. And if you buy it on Etsy, it's $120 something. If you buy it from her, it's $60. Now, the person on Etsy has got a bunch of comments underneath because they're like, hey, why are you doing this? How could you? And she's saying she's an authorized retailer. So she's authorized to sell it, but at a huge markup. So like we said before, if you want a deck, Google it first. See what's going on, see where you can get it. If you can get it directly from the person, that way they have a low overhead and all that type of stuff. Or if it's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble and all that, make sure it's authentic.
Yeah, I've recently been going on as I'm doing videos too, I've been on kind of a kick recently, and part of it's because I have my quick reference guide on the Etsy shop. Etsy just has been in the news recently because they recently raised their fees on people who sell their products on Etsy. So if you buy the deck directly from the artist, granted they have whatever overhead they have for Shopify or whatever their selling medium is, but it's probably a lot less than Etsy. So the artist, I believe, actually is more supported if you buy directly from their website.
Mhm. Okay. So there on TarotTube is all of these challenges. If like you narrow your collection down to 10 decks, I narrowed it down to 3 today. So that was one challenge. Another challenge is 7 decks for deadly sins. So there are 7 decks for 7 deadly sins. And the way this goes is first sin is pride, a deck that you bought and you're very proud of it.
Well, actually, I don't have to type a response in. I'm answering Joyce's question about how many decks I have. Honestly, I don't even know. I was close to 100, a few months ago. Um, but I have gotten some more decks since I've been down with surgery, and I have 6 decks coming to me from Ukraine, so I'm probably close to about 130 or so. Um, Pete keeps telling me that I'm really catching up to Johnny, and it's a really terrible thing. Johnny's a bad influence on you. Yeah, so it could be worse. Uh, a deck that I bought, and I'm proud of it though. One of them would be the 10th edition of the Tarot of Trees that I mentioned, just because it's beautiful. Um, and the other one would be I have as I was doing my videos, I discovered that I have 3 decks that would be considered vintage because they haven't been in print for 25 years or 30 years. They were old when I bought them. Um, one of them that I'm proud of and I haven't worked with a lot yet is Fairy Wicca Tarot, Faery Wicca Tarot. And I bought it because I have the 2 books by Kismet Stepanich, I believe is the author's name. And at the time I was studying different details related to Wicca. So when I saw that she came out with a tarot deck, I jumped on it. This is one where I'm going to have to rely on the imagery because, the card that I just showed you is the 5 of Tyne. I have no idea what the 5 of Tyne is. I think that must be Gaelic for wand. 2 of Domhan or Doman or however you pronounce it. That's got to be Pentacles. And I have no idea. I'm going to have to seriously concentrate on the court cards and stuff. But I'm kind of proud of this one because, it's when I get to the point where I can read this one, I will feel like I have more of a handle on, more confidence with reading skills. But also because I don't think this one is terribly common anymore. So part of it's the collector in me that I'm proud of more so than the imagery on the deck itself.
That's where mine comes from. This is I don't even remember what this is called. It's the Wooden Tarot, and I think the studio is called like Evil Toad Studios or something like that. But I got it from Etsy, and it's all wooden. All of them are wood. Fantastic smell too, but all of them are wooden. And I just love it because it's not something you see everywhere. It's not something you see every day, and they're all unique as well. So it's not like just photocopies of something, and they're all etched, and it's just fantastic and wonderful. And I love it. I just do.
I have seen you use that a few times.
That's my pride, is that deck there.
You know that Jamie Sawyer also has wooden tarot tiles now too.
Yes, but I don't want hers.
Okay. Well, no, it's not that tarot appears or whatever. She has some that are the Rider-Waite images.
Oh, okay, because that's the one I don't want that because that's just a deck full of people she knows. Is that I don't want that.
Well, yeah, I don't. She has some things on her website that I would like to get, but that deck doesn't particularly appeal to me because I don't know who those people are.
Me either. Deck appears. Okay, that's nice for you.
Uh-huh.
Make them and put it in their stockings or something.
Yeah.
Okay. Second sin is Sloth, a deck that you bought that you never use, and you probably don't intend to either.
Yeah. So probably about 10 years or so ago on Amazon, I saw this deck called The Last Tarot of Nostradamus. And I like the concept. but it's just very strange to me. I have no idea how these images relate to art, much less tarot. I don't know what the painting is that they came from. I have no idea. So that's one that I wish I hadn't gotten. But one that I got and I never use is this Bosch tarot that Ona uses. I it has like 8 suits or 10 suits and 8 cards per suit, and it's really freaking weird. I love to see it when she uses it, but I don't.
I almost got it simply because she has it on like that no. Just
Uh-huh. Yeah.
but that Nostradamus, yeah. I don't get it. I don't know.
Yeah.
One that I don't use, don't intend to use, I actually just used for my saga videos because Halloween, and it is a Halloween themed tarot deck. I forget what it's called exactly, but I mean, it's fine. It's Rider Waite Smith compatible, but it's not one I'm going to reach for because it's themed a little too heavily. Like if it was Christmas, I wouldn't use it. If it was Valentine's, I wouldn't. So it just doesn't fit for my everyday use. So this is something that goes to the bottom of the box and it stays there. And then when I want to do Halloween readings, I have scary, creepy cards, and so I use those instead. So this stays at the bottom of the box, but there's nothing wrong with it, so don't throw it away.
Does your creepy baby head like your creepy cards?
He's actually sitting in the cards right
That thing gives me the willies.
now. Now this one, okay. A deck that you bought, Gluttony, the new sin, that you didn't need. Now I understand all of them is the answer, but a deck that you bought that you absolutely 100% did not need it, but you bought it anyway.
Yeah, I think it comes down to the definition or however you define need. Um, wow, first of all, damn, Johnny, your live streams are magical. Look at that.
Now you got
Dark,
buzzing first.
dark chocolate caramel with sea salt.
See, I don't have snacks of mine today. I got lipstick in that lipstick.
Mine just sitting over here off to the side. But anyway, I had to pull that out. That I did not need would be this Jamie Sawyer Transitions deck. Um, I know that you bought, or you were the one that told me that she brought back the colored edition or the colored version of the deck, that she had initially been selling it and it sold out, and she brought it back as part of this set where one deck is the colored set and one deck is the sketches. Well, in order to have the set complete, I bought the transitions, where half of the card, whether the front or the back, is actually colored and the other is just the sketches. And this is definitely a deck that I did not need. I have never used it. I mean, it's kind of cool to have just as part of a progressive set, but I don't see that I'll really ever use this deck.
The sketches one, I threw it away. I'm like, I don't even like it, let alone need it. So, but it came with the other one, so
You
it's.
throw away more decks, Johnny.
I just what I did not need. I don't even remember what this is called. I think it's not reflective Rider Waite. There is a reflector Rider Waite, and it's like a small size, so that's another one for people with small hands. But I don't remember what this is called. But it has the iridescent shine to it. Now, at this point, this was maybe the 9th Rider Waite Smith deck I have. I don't need another Rider Waite Smith, but if you want to make money in tarot, here's a good way to do it. Make a Rider-Waite Smith deck, just a different variation. Take it and put weird colors on it. Take it and put stars over it. Somebody will buy it. This is just same thing as the Rider-Waite deck. It's just got shininess to it. And so I bought it. But do I need it? No. Why? Because I have 7 other Rider-Waite Smith decks. And so.
And these
Lord, I like
almost
that.
iridescent cards are really popular variations. I didn't need this pocket-sized version of the Witch's Tarot.
We don't
Because I have the full size, I have a regular pocket size, and I have the mini, so I need this iridescent one like I need another hole in my head.
We don't need any of these things. So, I mean,
yeah.
There you go. So next, Lust. A deck that you bought just because it's pretty.
This was a Kickstarter deck. It is the Amber Tarot, and I did do a video about this one. This, to my knowledge, their claim on this is truth. This is the only tarot deck where it's a remake of the Rider-Waite deck, but it's with people as actors, and they're in the same positions as the Rider-Waite cards with the same props and so on. So I think this deck is absolutely beautiful, and that's why I bought it. But at the moment, at least, it's still so new to me that I look at it as more of a work of art rather than something that I would work with.
I want that one.
But it's something that I really wanted, and I'm glad I got it.
I want that one.
Yeah.
A deck I bought just because it's pretty is another Rider-Waite Smith. But you know me, Magpie, it's gold and shiny. So it's limited edition, a special edition, or golden edition. It's called Tarot Black and Gold Tarot or something like that. But they're all shiny, and they're black and gold, and that's simply because it's pretty. That's all. There's nothing else to this deck other than that. It's the same Rider-Waite images. This is why I say if you want to make money in tarot, just make a different version of this same deck like everybody else does, and I'll buy it. This was like $38.
Yeah, I have a laundry basket behind me of tarot cards, and I probably have at least 10 versions of the Rider-Waite deck out there. They're, different colors, different shinies, different not.
I like it now. Do you know what I don't have? Other than this, in the big giant one, is the original version in the regular size. I don't have that. I got this little bitty thing, and then I got the big giant thing. A little plaid background on it. I don't have those.
Yeah,
I don't
actually saying that you weren't a fan of the plaid.
No, I hate that. I don't like the Rider-Waite itself unless you do weird stuff to it like this.
Well, then you don't actually need the one that has the plaid back. That's normal.
No, I don't. And it's fine to not have, I think. I'll take the one with the Reynolds rep on it. Give me the shiny ones.
I bet if you put the plaid background on your wish list, it would magically find its way to you.
That's how these showed up. I didn't buy these. No, I did buy these. No, I didn't. Yes, I did. Yes, I did buy these. Because somebody in the class had them, and she was using them in her test reads, and I'm like, oh my God, I need that deck right there because it's all shiny and stuff. Anyway. Agreed. A deck that you bought that you do not use for anyone else.
Yeah, for me, I didn't come up with a good answer to that question because I'm not reading for anybody else at this point. I'm just doing my own practice. I suspect it'll probably be a few years at least before I feel comfortable doing, readings on YouTube, unless I do some just random practice stuff, like little 10-minute shots here and there. I think we kind of need if there are any tech people in the chat, maybe this is just me since I have just recently taken a couple of classes. We almost need either an app or a website or something where you sign up and it's just like in 5-minute bursts, so you can also practice on being efficient with giving you readings, where for one you're assigned to be the reader for a 5-minute burst, and for the other one you're the person requesting the reading. So you go in with a question, and it can be just randomized, automatically assigned. You can sit down for do 5 readings in a half-hour period. I don't know how it would work, but I would love to have something like that specifically for practices, because I'm not going to get up here on YouTube and tell people, this is what this means, and have them screw up their lives because of it.
A deck that I do not use for anyone else. It is called the Mystic Garbage Tarot, I believe. Where'd the box go? The Mystic Garbage Tarot. Not because I just use it for myself, but because there's too much vulgarity in the deck. And it's one I use on YouTube sometimes, and I don't show you half the cards. Like, here's one mild example. Here's another. 3 of Swords, the 8 of Pentacles. And so I don't use this for anybody else, because how do you hold that up and say, here's what's going on in your life? No, we don't.
That's true. Yeah, I do have some decks that are a little bit more on the risque side that I would never.
The Empress or the Emperor, because they're not people. They're just things that represent men and women, if you get what I'm saying. There you go. So, Envy, a deck that you bought simply because somebody else had it.
The United States of Tarot, because it was one that I saw you using a lot.
And I saw somebody else.
This is the one that has, for those people in chat, you see Johnny using this one all the time. It's got, here, Princess of Pentacles is Ivanka Trump. And, it's political people. It looks like Jane Goodall. Stephen King. So that's one that I bought. I had never heard of it until I saw you use it, and then I decided that I needed to have it.
I seen Gonga's Tarot using it. And so that's where I seen it. And I'm like, oh, political people on tarot cards. That's what everybody was asking for. Let's go. A deck that I bought simply because somebody else was using it is the Housewives Tarot. This is one Sienna Rose Metaphysical used a lot. And I'm like, the images are fun. And I didn't get it at first because it was a little too weird and campy and, Mad Men type of thing. But I'm like, every time I keep looking at it, I'm like, I should get it. Now I got it. So it's simply because I kept saying it and somebody else had it. So here it is. I do like it, though. All right. Last one. Before we go, is there anything you want to mention at all?
Yeah, I have a couple of ideas kicking around in my head as far as things that I would like to do for my channel. I don't have enough subscribers yet on my YouTube channel to have a community tab or community page for people to give me ideas or feedback or thoughts. So for right now, if you want to contact,
I said, then y'all go subscribe.
Yeah. Well, just knowing that I was going to be on your channel here tonight, I think I added on 20 subscribers just because we've been telling people that we were going to be doing this. I'm currently at 160, and I don't have access to the community tab unless I get to 500 subscribers. So at some point, I'll have a community tab where we can interact more with ideas for videos and topics and so on. But in the meantime, you can visit my website. It's trilliumtarot.com. So it's my same YouTube username. And I do have a contact tab on the website. So it's one of those forms because I didn't want to get slammed with spam bot emails. But it does come to me in my email box. If you have ideas for topics or have questions or just general feedback, or, if I if you spot a typo, oh my God, please let me know, because that would drive me bananas if I find out later that there's a typo out there that I didn't find. So feel free to reach out. I'm having a lot of fun doing this, and it's an interesting ride.
A good ride, a fun ride.
It is.
But our last sin is wrath. A deck that you bought that you are now furious, angry, or extremely disappointed that you have it at all, or that you bought it at all, but you won't get rid of it either.
For me, I didn't pull it out of my laundry basket here. My very first thought was Tower Takeover, that deck that's all towers. Not because of the cards themselves, but because of the customer service experience I had or did not have when I actually purchased that deck. So once I finally got it, I chucked it in a drawer, and I don't think I've looked at it since. So that one is just the kind of one that made me angry. The one that I did pull out to show people, though, is this Star Trek Next Generation deck. And I love Star Trek. I was really excited when this deck came out because I have been looking for Star Trek tarot off and on through the years. I'm fine with being a Star Trek nerd. It's just how I roll. And I was happy with this deck, even though it's a pip deck. It's got the suits are kind of interesting. It has batliths for swords and ships for something else. That tells you how much I've used this deck or looked at this deck. But then once I received and looked at the officially licensed version of the Star Trek Original Series deck and saw how good it could be, after that point, that's when this deck just kind of annoys me now. So this is another one that just kind of hangs out and takes up space. I'm not prepared to throw it away because I'm not Johnny, but it's not on my top list anymore.
Where's the box to this monstrosity? I recently took a trip to Barnes and Noble, and I bought 3 decks. 2 of them are currently in the trash, and this is the third. It's called Skyrim Tarot Deck, Elder Scrolls V. It's a video game. And I was very excited when I seen this in Amazon for pre-order, and I'm like, oh my goodness, because I played the hell out of this game. Anybody who played this game played the crap out of it because it's that big of a deal. They released it on 11/11/11. They knew what they were doing. And so it's a big, giant deal. People are still playing it to this day. They're waiting on the next installment, all that. And so I was very excited that they made a tarot deck from that until I got the cards. Now, mind you, this is still my fault because I could have Googled it, and Sienna has it too. And I seen it was a pip deck, and I'm like, I'll buy it anyway. The pip deck, what you mean by pip deck is this is 5 of cups. You don't see the person sad. You don't see the cups falling over. There's just 5 cups. So that's pip deck. But I don't like pip decks, but I bought it anyway because of what it is. But then you get in here, and my biggest pet peeve of tarot is why do you change the names? The 5 of voice, what the hell does that mean? It's cups, but what does cups have to do with voice? That would be more sword to me. No. And then they clump together. They don't come out right. They're all clumped together because the card stock or the card material is garbage. And so they're hard to get apart. They don't just slide apart. And it's ugly. It's but because of what it is, I won't throw it away. But I really want it. It was in the trash, and I took it out because of like just to keep it, because just keep it. The 2 of lockpicks. Why?
Yeah.
Why lockpicks?
It's hard to be a collector and feel an attachment to something and be so annoyed with it at the same time.
It just. it bothers me because this could have been better than what it is. And so it goes in the box and it stays there, but I won't throw it away because of what it is, but I do want to.
Mm-hmm.
How many do I have approximately, and have you thrown in the garbage? I don't know. Because when I moved, I just threw all the decks away that I don't like or that have that kind of issue to where they changed a bunch of the names and I have to try to remember that. So a bunch of them just went in the trash because I just can't.
And for Chris DM too, about people using playing cards for readings. Yeah, that's one of the reasons I really like this Divine and Play Tarot, is because it does show the correspondence in the regular playing suits, which you can also just use. I know that Becca, when she does her grand tableaus, she talks about the correspondences between the Lenormand cards and the regular suits as well. So there's a lot of correlation stuff back there, and I'm currently overwhelming myself with research to try and put together articles about it. But
I have some playing cards I use. They're Care Bears, but I use playing cards too. Because I mean, the tarot started. This is why you have a Fool card. This was the Joker. The Fool was not an original part of the tarot. So the Fool's Journey is something they made up long after tarot was a thing. So anyway, so again, Stephanie's Etsy shop is pinned to the top of the thing if you want to get the document that she created for tarot studies. Also, trilliumtarot.com is her website. Go over to her YouTube channel and subscribe. Trillium Tarot. Of course, you'll see her in the chat, for she is everywhere we are too. I will be live tomorrow with a tarot talk, kind of like the soul chats we used to do. So we will be doing another one of those tomorrow, speaking about tarot journeys with Does a Cat's Tarot and Tea with Tanya. So we'll be doing that tomorrow. And then for the Sunday stream, we'll be on Jen Lynch's channel. I think that's everything. So I will see y'all tomorrow.
Thank you so much for having me as a guest, Johnny. I really appreciate it.
Oh, absolutely.
And I just want to give an update. I am up to 177 subscribers. So you guys gave me a shot in the arm there. Thank you very much.
So we will see y'all later.
Bye, everybody. Have a good night.